without further ado, I will introduce our speaker today, Mayor Dennis Hanwell.
I'd like to thank you all for attending. If I didn't get a chance to talk to you before we got started, I appreciate you all being here, your support and your interest in what we're doing here in the city of Medina. I'd like to thank Williams on the Lake for the great lunch, and also the sponsors you just heard from, Armstrong, Ideal Creative, and Integrated Community Solutions. My department heads are on the left here predominantly, and there's another table straight ahead from me. And I was recently awarded by the Legion of Honor Humanitarian Award of the Chapel of Four Chaplains, a humanitarian award. And I'm here today to tell you that really that award shouldn't come to me. It should come to the city, because it's the work they do day in and day out and the teamwork. When I say team, it's not just the city team. It's the city team, the city council, the county commissioners, the state officials, Main Street, the chamber, and really that's the difference in Medina versus other communities, is we are all working together for what's best for the community, and as a result, you'll hear some of the many things that are taking place here. Got to tilt them down? Or I could talk louder, huh? Thank you, Jacqueline. So I just celebrated my 41st anniversary with the city, and it's been my honor and privilege to serve. A number of my family members are here as well. My mother is going to be 90 here this December, Nancy. Elaine and Carl, her sister and husband from California. My son, John. Janie Parrish, who has been my campaign director for all 4 terms. And, of course, my wife, Chris. We just celebrated 46 years. In fact, Chris got to come. It was so exciting, I took her out to a council meeting for our anniversary, and she had the best time. But then we had to go to dinner and make up for that. I'm not sure where he is in the room here, but Homer Davis is here somewhere. There he is. Chief Davis was the police chief when I was hired in the city in 1983. And Chief Davis and then Mayor Bill Lamb gave me the opportunity to work for the city when other cities wouldn't talk to me because of having type 1 diabetes. And when he gave me this opportunity, I knew that I would never leave the city. People ask me, have you ever thought about going federally or a larger city or whatever? My loyalty has been with the city and remains with the city, and sir, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. We have a number of elected officials here. We'll start with the city, then the county, and then the state. So from the city, we have Judge Gary Warner. Thanks, Judge. Keith Durham is our finance director, and Ward 4 Councilman Jim Shields. From the county, we have all 3 commissioners, Commissioner Steve Hambley, Commissioner Aaron Harrison, and Commissioner Colleen Swedick, as well as our county recorder, Linda Hoffman. And from the state of Ohio, we have Representative Sharon Ray in the center of the room here. And you're going to hear some about each of them as we proceed here. I'd like to also thank, Jared is here today, but he and Miles put together these presentations for you. I'm okay with the text. I'm not good with the video or a drone or any of that stuff. So thank you, Jared and Miles, for all you do for that. So this year's topic is preserving the past and forging the future. And that's the tagline for the city's mission statement, preserving the past and forging the future. So on the screen there, you will see the historic downtown like you've never seen it before, taken from a drone, and the allegiance of the city to maintain the historic value and the historic downtown, but also understanding that we have to progress. We have to add jobs, we have to build industry, so that the tax burden is not on our residents. And we've done a great job of that, as you'll hear as I go through these. So the staff and I made a commitment in my last term to try to work on some of the harder projects that we've been struggling with, some for a decade, some for 2 decades. 2023 was very busy for the city. We had 22 ribbon cuttings, 1,341 full-time jobs, and 122 part-time jobs created. The State Route 18 improvements lasted 2023 into 2024, and that was a $43 million project. West Smith Road, for that same period of time, was a $6 million project from Court Street to the edge of the fairgrounds, and a third of that was paid by federal dollars. And then Sharon Ray was very helpful to us in getting a grant to extend our trail from Cups Cafe up past the square and then north towards Friendship Street. The advantage of that is then, instead of people having to drive to events on the square, if we connect these trails, not only in the city but in the county, then it gives other alternatives to folks that don't necessarily need to get in a car. These are all a collaborative effort with Main Street, the Chamber, and government officials, and all of our departments work together in a collaborative manner. It doesn't matter if it's an engineering issue or a service department issue or a parks issue. We all get around the table, put our heads around it, and that's been our greatest success, is collaboration. So the first main project that we heard about ward after ward after ward meeting from the residents is, why can't you do something with the old Kmart? And I'll tell you why. Because when a private individual owns it, and they don't care whether they rent it or not, the city has no mechanism to compel them to do something with it. If they want to own a vacant building, they can own a vacant building. The mistake they made, this is Benderson in New York, the mistake they made, though, was they shut off all the utilities. The entire building got filled with mold. They then did not keep upkeep on the building, maintain the building as they're required to by our statutes. And pretty soon, vagrants and vandals were breaking windows and camping out inside there. We tried to warn them. We tried to get them to comply with our property maintenance code. We weren't successful. So we cited 4 of the principals or owners in the Medina Municipal Court. And that's what made a big change for us. Judge Warner pointed out to them that you were each charged with 1 count. This has been going on for 14, 15, 16 months. The city could have charged you every single day for each one of those violations. And he warned them then, and we're thankful for it, that you need to do something with the building. It's up to you. You can tear it down and restore it, you can lease it, or you can sell it, but we're not going to keep coming back with these property maintenance violations. That's what opened the door for Myers to have the opportunity that they had been trying to arrange for so many years. And we're appreciative of that. So now Myers has a contract. You'll see some of the video, the tear down of the old Kmart that we were all pleased to see. And then Kimberly worked with the folks from Myers to get a $500,000 grant to assist with the demolition costs. It was a little bit more than that, but $500,000 still helps substantially. And I just wanted to mention, I met the head of real estate for Myers, who goes around other cities and other states and does projects just like this. And we sat in a 2-hour meeting together where we bring all our department heads, all the utility companies, county officials, because they do the sanitary for us, and we want to answer every single question they have. What's the water pressure? You know, where are we permitted to take the debris on what roads? And as I walked him out to his car, he said to me, he said, usually I'm lucky if I get to pass by the mayor and somebody points him out, or at least he stops to say hello. He said, I'm shocked that you would spend 2 hours in this meeting with me. And I told him that's how important this project is to the city of Medina. We need to get this done. And that's what it took to get it done. And by the way, that's a $20 million investment and 158,000 square feet. It's a large complex, to say the least. The next main project was the Acme on South Court Street. Again, that had been pending for over a decade. Councilman Shields kept calling, trying to get updates. And we finally, Kimberly and I, with a little bit of pressure, we finally got them to come to the table. And we had to do some changes to the planning district that was passed quite a few years ago to support their project. The city agreed to give them 3 driveways, one for deliveries, one for pharmacy, and one that would be the main access off of High Point. All 3 of these are on High Point. For not only Myers, but they're going to build a wing off to the north. And they're also going to build restaurants or food services along Route 3 there, across from the McDonald's. So Acme leadership had such a problem with ODOT District 3, they wanted an intersection or a driveway off of State Route 3. And ODOT obstructed, traffic study after traffic study. They spent thousands, literally thousands and thousands of dollars, as well as being delayed in this project. And I was so frustrated with it that I wanted to have a meeting face-to-face with ODOT and tell them how they're really messing this up for us. But I didn't want to do that and then have Acme have to deal with that in other areas of the state where they have to deal with ODOT. So we wanted to make sure that they were okay with it first. Turns out they were. We met with, again, Representative Ray and Senator Romanchuk, Kimberly, myself, and the leadership from Acme, and we laid out all these problems. And I said, all I need is a meeting. If we can just have a meeting with ODOT and tell them what impact this is having on us. And we arranged that meeting. By the way, there's a whole list of developers in Medina County that have had the same interactions with ODOT, this same ODOT district. In fact, this ODOT district has the most appeals of any of their decision than any other district in the state of Ohio. That tells me something, and I imagine it tells you something too. So the other thing is right across the street, there's a McDonald's and a car repair place. I believe it's called Mr. Tire. It's in Montville. They have a full-service driveway there, but they wouldn't give it to Acme for this massive development that they're doing. So we had that meeting the Thursday before the eclipse, and I'll never forget it, because I laid out for them all of the problems that they were causing. We finally, with Acme's blessing, agreed to acquiesce to a right turn in and a right turn out only, and they refused that as well prior to this meeting. And so I laid out for them as the safety director where our police mutual aid is going to come from, where our fire mutual aid is going to come from, where our EMS mutual aid is going to come from. And the majority of that is all north of the facility, which would now have to all drive by it, get onto High Point with the rest of the traffic, and then get in. And those seconds are critical, as you all know. So I closed the meeting with the deputy director with this. I've had my entire time in office the cell phone for the governor. I've never used it. I will use it if this decision is not turned around. And I said, I need you guys to revisit this. I need a decision. I don't want to wait another 2 or 3 months. We got to get this thing done. And he said, oh, okay, we can turn it around pretty quickly. I said, well, what's quickly in your perspective? And he said, well, tomorrow's Friday. Yes, sir, I'm aware of that. He said, and Monday's the eclipse. I said, yeah, I've heard about that as well. He said, how about the end of next week? I said, end of next week works for me. I said, I just don't want to go week after week after week. So I had a council meeting on Tuesday because of the eclipse on Monday. I stayed, I signed all the ordinances, and Chris was getting a little antsy, so we got up at 3 a.m. to begin to drive for a 2-week trip to Florida. And I was midway through West Virginia, and I got a text from Sharon Ray that they sent a note saying they permit the right turn in, right turn out. And I thought to myself, why does it have to come to this? Why does it have to come to this when we're just, the legislators, by the way, want development, the governor's office wants development, and yet here we have this agency of the state obstructing development. Just does not make sense. So that project's going to be 56,000 square feet and $13 million. The next major project that we've worked over 2 decades on is a location for our Medina Municipal Court. The judge's current court is about 13,500 square feet. It was built in 1982. It doesn't meet the Supreme Court standards. I won't go over each and every one of those with you, but the 3 main ones are you have to have total separation of court staff, public using the facility, and in-custody prisoners. Right now, all 3 of those share about a 3-foot hallway where they pass one another. Somebody in shackles, somebody coming in as a witness, the judge taking something to the clerk's office. That's not safe, that's not reasonable. So as a result of that, the council and the administration have been working for 2 decades to try to find another place. One of the things we looked at was building on top of the municipal court, a 2nd floor. Another was to do an addition to the south of the existing municipal court. Another was to remodel the former Masonic temple before it was demolished when we determined that wouldn't be possible. So then, when we heard that the county commissioners were looking to build a brand new courthouse, I reached out to then Commissioner Bill Hudson, who's now a common pleas judge, and said if the city and the county could partner together on this, we could all save money by doing it collaboratively. And we can also not only save money on the construction, but using the same security checkpoint, using the same prisoner housing area, all of those things, restrooms, and the commissioners were very favorable to it. The city put our plans together. It was about an $8 million project. This is like 2-3 years ago. $8 million project, we could have been in that new building. And instead, we had a ballot initiative that obstructed the city and the county because they wanted to correct their deficiencies, wanted to move forward with theirs. So they just simply took our floor off and we were back to square one. So then they moved everybody out of the courthouse on the square. You might have seen it in the video there earlier with the white pillars on the east side of the square where you can see it right from the gazebo. And by the way, the people that filed this initiative are the same people that wanted to save that courthouse. So now I'm negotiating a lease, 33-year lease with 2 10-year extensions, 53 years, to keep the building and keep that appearance on the square that everybody wanted, including the public. And they filed another lawsuit or wanted to amend their lawsuit to try to block us again. Now again, if we're successful, that's the front of the courthouse there, if we're successful, we can still share that security checkpoint, we can still share that prisoner housing. And when you look at it from a taxpayer standpoint, that whatever the number is, it's irrelevant. So the cost of the security checkpoint, if the county's paying 80% because they have 4 courtrooms and the city is paying 20% because we have 1 courtroom, we're saving 80%, they're saving 20%, right? Same thing with the prisoner housing area. This is so basic in trying to preserve taxpayers' dollars and work together. So we're still working our way through those lawsuits, and we're hoping it's over soon. And then something that we had not been working on, but we are very glad it was presented, is the Legacy Hotel and Convention Center. And I'm going to tell you this is a game changer for the city, and in a few minutes I'll tell you exactly why I see it as that. But if you're not familiar, you can see that little building to the right, and there's another single-story building to the left. In fact, my children went to driver's training in that second one there. And those are not historic buildings by any stretch of the imagination. That looks more like a historic building. And it's going to be a great addition to our downtown. So this location, if you're not familiar, is just north of the parking lot across from Castle Noel, the city parking lot, and will then abut the brick buildings to the north there. It's going to be a 51,000 square foot hotel with 4 floors, 77 rooms, and 3 upscale restaurants. And then behind it, that's what you're looking at now, is a 6,000 square foot convention center. And the total investment for both of those is $21.5 million investment in the city. So why a game changer? Well, I was shocked. You may not be aware of this, but we have every single year between 300 and 350 either weddings or wedding photos at our gazebo. So right now, those people are coming for the ceremony or coming for the pictures, and then they leave. If we can capture them for 3 days and have the rehearsal there, have the rehearsal dinner there, have the reception at the event center, now that's all outside money coming in. And by the way, if they stay till Sunday too, that gives them a chance to visit many of the other amenities that we have in town. So Discount Drug Mart, I know Steve's here from Discount Drug Mart, and Sandwich Crafted Food headquarters are located here in Medina. And if not weekly, near weekly, they bring out-of-town visitors into Medina. And they get to drive by the square, but they have nowhere to stay. And they're staying in Montrose, they're staying in Strongsville, they're staying up by Cleveland Hopkins Airport. So we're losing the chance with those folks. And I'd really love to be in the downtown if they simply could. Another thing that may not be well known is All Fasteners out on Lake Road is owned by Australian group. So they come in from Australia all the time, have no place to stay. Agrati LLC, also on Lake Road, their owners are in Italy. Ravago, America's owners are in Belgium. That's at the corner of Smith and Lake Road. And then just the events that we have, the large annual events, Candlelight Walk, Art in the Park, Medina Fest. It permits visitors to come not only for the event, but then stay in the city and visit Castle Noel, Root Candle, Foundry Social, and all the unique shops and restaurants and opportunities that we have in our downtown. All of these 4 projects that I just listed for you are, again, examples of collaboration. The city couldn't do any of these on its own, but working with the state officials, the county officials, the chamber, the Main Street, and the council, obviously, we were able to put these together. The next is police and fire I'd like to talk about. So I'm very proud of the collaboration between police and fire, and if you're from the city, if you live in the city, this may just seem natural to you, because it's always been that way. When I started at the police department, we worked with the fire, we worked with the LST, because if we cannot have as many staff from any one of the agencies, that keeps people free to go to the next call. And again, it saves taxpayer dollars. So just a recent example of that. A fire truck comes up, a house on the west side of town, just north of 18, is significantly on fire. As the firefighters are getting their breathing apparatus and their heavy coats and their heavy pants on, the officers are unrolling the hoses, taking the caps off the hydrants, connecting the hoses, so it's ready to be charged when the fire department's ready. One of our police officers was a Medina fireman. Well, he knew enough then to suggest to the fire chief that when they decided to go inside, once the fire appeared to be under control, go inside and do a search, that there has to be a matter of egress out of that so they don't get trapped up there. So he said, if you like, I can grab a couple of the ladders with one of the other officers and we'll put them on the second floor windows to have a matter of egress for those firefighters. I share that with you because that's less firemen we have to have there, that's less policemen we have to have in the city, and less EMS by everybody working together and saving tax dollars. Our fire staffing right now is 16 hours, 7 days a week. The chief and I have been working along with the council on 24/7 staffing. We're still doing our best to keep it part-time, though. That's the challenge. Because it's a lot, financially, it's a lot more reasonable to do it with part-time staff than full-time staff and benefits and all the things that go along with that. So we're hoping to try 24/7 for a trial in the first quarter of this year, 2025, first quarter of 2025, and then we have to evaluate, will the budget support it? Does our staffing numbers support it? If not, do we have to hire a little bit more? Do we have to add a little bit more staffing? Representative Sharon Ray recently attained a $1 million grant for the Medina County Career Center. I know Superintendent Steve Chrisman is here, and that's for a new 3-story live fire training. The Career Center also got 2 smaller grants to couple that. And what was interesting to me, those of you that have been in the city for a little while, is Bill Batchelder, when he was a representative for Medina County, he funded the original fire tower that's there today with state money. So Sharon is following in great footsteps there. Representative Batchelder was a mentor to many of us. And I'd also like to congratulate the Career Center. They're going to be celebrating their 50 years. There's going to be an open house out there in October. And I'd encourage you to come out and see what all is going on. In fact, there's so much going on out there that U.S. Representative Max Miller decided to give 25% of his salary as a representative to the Career Center because he was so pleased with what they were doing out there after a number of tours and talking with the staff and talking with the students. That number's $43,500, by the way, that he donated. And then last but not least, we have a new police canine at the high school that was a collaborative effort with Medina High School. And this police canine, you'll see it's not a German Shepherd. That's a German short-hair pointer. It's for detection of firearms and explosive detection. But also, because of the dog's personality, it can also be a resource or support animal for the students. And we're thankful for the school. We're looking at grant dollars now to provide a car. If not, we'll use carryover funds from the police department. But one of the foundations that I serve on, the person was a former special for the sheriff's office, and one of the funding ideas of the foundation is police canines. So we think the car to support this police canine will be accepted. Next is the cemetery. So we recently built our 3rd columbarium wall, and council approved new roads to access more lot spaces. So we had a lot of lots still available there, but the infrastructure had not been put in to get there. The other thing I'm very proud of is Spring Grove Cemetery is the only site in Medina County designated by the National Park Service as making a significant contribution to the Underground Railroad and meeting the requirements for inclusion in the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom. And you'll see there that as a result of that, they presented us with 2 signs to recognize the grave sites of H.G. and Elizabeth Blake, as well as Lieutenant Colonel Herman and Martha Canfield for their roles in Medina in the Underground Railroad networks. The city has a great collaborative relationship with the Friends of the Cemetery, and we thank them for all they do. Okay, Healthy Medina initiatives. We've been really blessed with our relationship with Medina Hospital. We started over 10 years ago, and we have probably in the low 80% participation with staffing in the city, which tells me that the staff are buying it too. So you'll see there some of the things for Healthy Medina. That's new pickleball courts at Root Middle School. So there were 2 tennis courts that needed rehabbed. But the school was trying to find a location for pickleball courts, as was the city, so we could remove the 2 tennis courts and replace it with 6. And by the way, on my way to work this morning, I drove by Root School just to check, and there was at least 2, if not 3 classrooms, all seated on the courts and hearing the instruction of how to play pickleball. So now we're passing it from generation to generation, and how special is that? So we redid our skateboard park with ARPA funds. We had foundation and grant funding to renovate and install new lighting and equipment in the City Hall workout room, which was just on your screen there. Through a capital grant, again, through Representative Ray, we did an 1,800 square foot expansion at the rec center to expand the workout and lifting area. So some other benefits of the Healthy Medina program are healthcare costs. We're all struggling with providing healthcare and controlling those costs. So we were able to negotiate a 2-year contract, and we were trying to drive the first year. It was 0 increase in 2025, but we were trying to lower it for 2024. And Medical Mutual said, well, instead of lowering it anymore, we can keep it down to this level, but we'll do a rebate to you if, when we compare your claims versus the premiums you've paid, and if it's within this percentage, you get 1% back, 2% back, 3% back, up to 5%. And the folks are here from One Digital that helped us with the negotiation of that. Well, I'm happy to tell you that our filings were low enough in 2023 that the city got a rebate of $146,000, the total 5%. The total 5%, even with no increase next year. And then we put in a new playground at Roscoe Ewing Park, thanks to Murray and Sue Van Epp for their support. They've helped with the bicentennial fountain and a variety of other projects in the city. So the next topic is communications and Medina TV. Barbara Desir is our marketing director, and she's very good at searching out grant opportunities, as well as marketing the city in magazines, on Instagram and Facebook, and kind of oversees the press releases, so there's some consistency with them. Medina TV and Jared's team are working on a redesign of the city website so we can become more transparent in 2024 into 2025. So the ADA is requiring that these websites within the next few years, if you're sight impaired, if you're hearing impaired, if you're colorblind, these websites have to be able to accomplish that. So we're making sure, as long as we're redesigning it, that it meets all those new ADA standards. They're also looking at the use of new apps, like, because no disrespect to my Armstrong friends, but some of the people are getting off wires or cables and doing their own thing. So by using new apps like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Roku, Apple TV, Android, Apple iOS, and Fire Stick TV, as well as live streaming on demand, this opens up a whole nother opportunity to share what's going on in the city and what the programs of Medina TV on those other platforms. Medina TV currently has over 86,000 views, and with these new apps that I just mentioned, we're looking to expand to more options. Excuse me, just trying to keep my voice. So there's really something special about Medina. The first thing I want to start with is this is a mobile changing unit for adults that are confined to a wheelchair and need to have a facility, sometimes even to be lifted out of the wheelchair, and an adult changing table. So the Medina County Board of Developmental Disabilities reached out to Nino and I and wanted to place one somewhere in the city. They had grant dollars to do that. Well, we looked at City Hall, we looked at the public restrooms, we looked at the fire station on the square, and the amount of space that it would take to accommodate this simply wouldn't work. So what they did instead was with the grant, they purchased this mobile unit now to bring up to the square for events. And they said their problem is we don't know how to get a hold of the people that host these events. So I immediately sent it to Main Street, to the Chamber, to the Ice Festival folks, to the community band, to everybody I could think of, Art in the Park, a fair on the square, because I can remember in church, both in third grade and in teaching third grade Sunday school, that there's a verse in Matthew that says, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." And it bothered me that without this, these folks can't come to our square, to the Art in the Park, to the Medina Fest, to the band concerts, because their basic needs can't be met. That is important. That is important as a city that we do that. And then I was pleased to find out recently that the Medina Municipal Court, in the renovations of the 1969 courthouse, on the lower level, right next, adjacent to the security checkpoint, is going to create one of these in the courthouse building too. Again, think about collaboration. Not only will that serve anybody with those needs coming to the municipal court, but the other 4 common pleas courthouse visitors as well. So now it's handling 5 courts instead of 1 court. And just probably an hour before this meeting, I was chatting with the county administrator, Chris Jacob, who was very instrumental in us getting this lease put together. And he was telling me they're doing some renovations at the county administration building, and the county administration building will also have a restroom with an adult changing table. So we went from 0 to a mobile unit and these 2 locations, which speaks very highly of the city and the county. A couple other things that make Medina special. Councilman Shields reached out to me, and they were looking for the schools to have somebody that does a lot with like measuring and building and things like that for the children to understand the practical application of what they're being taught in the schools. And he thought if Dan Gladish, our chief building official, and Nancy Nozick from Brandstetter Carroll, who built the brand new courthouse, could come in and give a presentation on how important those measurements and spatial relationships are, that's something that the children walk by every day on their way to the library, on their way to the square, on their way to Cups Cafe. So it's something when you share that with them that they can practically apply, and we were happy to do that. We have numerous events on our square. We try to keep it upkept as much as we can. Sometimes trash is a bit of a concern because we're trying to cover all the parks and get back to the square. But one thing I'm proud of is after the main events, the parks workers will come in early the next day, blow everything that's on the square, the small amounts of debris, out to the curbs, and then Nino will have one of his street sweepers come in and clean it all up before people are parked there early that morning. At last year's State of the City, Reverend Mike Wilson spoke with Representative Ray about the need for a van that he could increase his programming at the Fellowship Baptist Church if he just had transportation for the people. And at the time, there wasn't one available, but several months later, Sharon was notified that a used van that the state didn't need anymore could be donated to a nonprofit, and she reached out to Reverend Wilson, and they took possession of that. That might be a good reason to come to the State of the City. I'm just saying. And then the solar eclipse. As I mentioned to you, that was in April, on April 8th, and Main Street, I'm not a technology guy, but they have some mechanism of finding out through electronic devices the visitors from out of the area that were in the city, and we had over 4,400 people from Friday through Monday of the eclipse that visited our fine city. Our finance department, the city has one of the lowest income tax rates in the state of Ohio at 1.25%. The council and I are very proud of that, and there's also a partial credit. So when I was first elected mayor, one of my campaign promises, if you will, as much as I could, was that we would do our best to raise the income tax in the city without raising the income tax on the backs of the residents. So the only way to do that, practically, is open more commercial businesses, change our processes so the industry can grow, not be held up with bureaucracy. And as a result of all of the things that we put into place, I'm pleased to tell you that in 2023, that number that used to be 12 million was in excess of 20 million. And just like you all, we're paying more for gas, we're paying more for utilities, we're paying more for uniforms, for insurances. So not having to burden the residents with that and still maintain the top quality services that we have is important. And obviously that's the result of numerous job creations and industrial and commercial expansions. So that is Madison, our granddaughter. She's going to be 9 this December, and her little brother Aiden, he'll be 5. Don't let him fool you. He's a devil. He has a gracious heart, but he cannot stay out of trouble to save his life. We're thankful, Chris and I are both very thankful that they're here in the community with us. We get to see them, we get to watch them when the parents have conflicts, we get to go see their sports games, and that's important to us. And for those of you that may not been here for the past 15 years, I started with, well, first there were no pictures because there were no grandchildren, and then we started with Madison when she was about 4 or 5 months old, and then there's been a picture every year. I skipped 1 year, and then Jacqueline got real mad at me, and I'm a quick learner. I didn't make that mistake again. So I want to conclude by thanking all of you for your support and investment in our fine community. This is my 15th State of the City to you. Each year I'm further impressed and proud of how all you support us, help us, promote us, and the community. And I just ask that God may bless each of you and your families and your staff, and thank you for coming.